Welcome to another beautiful podcast here in New York City. So one of the biggest things that I've talked about for the last couple of years was improvement. And improvement could be in a lot of different areas. So improvement would be in your health, in your body, in your mindset, in your sleeping, all these habits. And what I noticed, I have this guy that I prospect daily with, Eric, and the number one thing that we've noticed is that the competition is literally on the floor. There's no competition. If you just do the basic items, you will be above other people. It's just simple as that, okay? I talked about it with my coach last week, and he's just very disappointed in me. He's just, every single call he gets on, and he's just like, dude, I'm telling you what to do, and you're not doing it fully, or you're not doing it more. You're just doing the minimum. And the minimum is not good enough. So the minimum for me is a social post, doing one of these podcasts, doing one of the BPI real estate news. If you want to find out about that, just go to Botenstein Properties International, and it's getting better and everything else. But the number one thing from that is my coach is saying, listen, if you actually want to become what you want to become, you have to stop becoming average. You're just doing what average people do. And I've really been thinking about it. I've discussed it with Eric, and he'll bring in examples of people. You know, there's this example he was showing an apartment, and the real estate agent, I guess he's 2 or 3 years in the business, was just completely inappropriate, not professional at all, not actually saying the right words to actually move the buyer down the line of potentially placing an offer or seeing other properties. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. To be honest, I had that conversation with my sister this weekend when I was up in Rhinebeck, is that the competition is embarrassing, okay? The standards are so low here in the States, it's crazy. There's such a low standard, there's such a low accepted standard that if you go above the standard, people are like, why are you going above the standard? Why are you actually getting into shape? Why are you making more money? It's exactly what happened in Scandinavian countries. There's a couple other countries that I've heard athletes say. One of them was from Norway, and they have this thing, I think Australia does this as well a little bit, is that it's called tall poppy syndrome. Once it gets too tall, they chop you down. And this Norwegian athlete was talking about, he said, once you become really good, it's not acceptable in the culture of Norway to go above and beyond the grain. But in the United States, it's a little bit better. In Canada, it's a little bit better, okay? Throughout, Britain, it's a little bit better, but they still have a little of the tall poppy syndrome. And what I was seeing is that in America, we're actually moving a little bit towards this average is good. You see the covers of people who are completely out of shape and saying this is healthy. It's not healthy. It's not. They're out of shape and they're unhealthy, and you can just do biomarkers based on blood, not based on visualization. The standard for actually getting better is so easy, it just comes down to one thing. It is the consistent activities that get you towards the goal. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and Brian Buffini, who's a real estate coach, was talking about it. He said that there was a book written in 1979, and they said, so burnout has always been top of mind here in America. Okay, I'm burned out, and everything else. People like Grant Cardone says, I don't believe in burnout, which I'm sort of on board with that. It's just, this is the reason, is that if you don't see the goal, then you will be burned out, because there is no goal. If you see the goal, but you're not taking activity or taking steps, actions towards that goal, you will be burned out. So there's a lot of people that are taking action, but they have no goal, or they don't even know where they're taking action. So they're going to get burned out. They're spinning the wheel. They're burning candles on either end, whatever cliche you want to use. Then you have people that see the goal, but they're taking no action, and they get burned out. They're like, oh, it's too big. I don't even want to climb the mountain. So the quote this morning by Brian Buffini, who's a real estate coach out in California, he said something very interesting. He said, it's one of two things, like I just said. But if you have the daily actions with the vision, I want to look like this, okay? And I got to tell you, since doing visualizations every single morning, since doing affirmations every single morning, it's amazing what that can do. You're essentially setting the intention for the day. You're setting the intention for the day. Most people wake up and they don't even know what's going to go down. They have a calendar of appointments, or they have a calendar of what they're going to do. Maybe they'll do some of it, maybe they won't do some of it, maybe they have a to-do list, maybe they don't have. But the problem is with that is they have the activities, but they don't have the vision. They have the activities, but they don't have the vision. So they'll get burned out quicker because they're doing activities, but they don't know where the vision is. I see this all over social media. It's crazy. All over the stories, burned out, I needed this vacation, blah, blah, blah. But ironically enough, is that person took a vacation like 3 weeks ago, and then they took a vacation like a month ago, and they took a vacation a month before that. Like, they're taking about 12 vacations a year. So really, is it the vacation that's needed or the daily activities? So in Grant Cardone's mindset is that burnout is not a thing. Okay? I don't agree to that. Burnout is real. But the thing is, and just as the title of this video says, is it is so easy to remain like everyone else. It is so easy to be average. It is so easy to do nothing. You can just literally sit at home all day. I was talking about it on the real estate show today, is that the amount of office space that is going to be available in the coming years in New York City, because people are not doing office space work as religious as they possibly can, it's going to crater by 39%. The value is going to go down by almost 40%. Office space buildings. So I said, listen, it's an opportunity to convert it to residential. It's an opportunity to convert it to rentals or sales, okay? But the idea that having more leisure is going to bring you more happiness is nonsense. It's nonsense. Because you'll have more leisure, but you just cram it with a bunch of bullshit. And that's what everyone is doing now. That was what I was doing. I was literally cramming my day with a bunch of stuff that did not matter at all. It didn't matter. But I was doing activities. I felt like I was actually productive. And then what I've noticed in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, since I've been doing these podcasts pretty consistently, is I started looking through the lens of where I put my attention. What am I reading? What am I seeing? What are the videos that I'm watching? What's the social media that I'm intaking right now? And what I noticed is that when I actually started to set the intention at night before you go to bed, set the intention when you wake up. Today, it's going to be a great day for opportunities. Today, I'm going to get everything done that's needed for my body or my mindset or my job or my relationship, whatever your focus is. Set the intention. Your feet hit the ground, it's going to be a great day. And I'm going to tell you right now, since I started to set the intention, my eyes started to view opportunities. My eyes started to say, this isn't part of what I need right now. And then what I noticed is that when I started to look at what I did need, I looked around and there's not a lot of people that are doing it, hence this video, is that we think we have all this competition. Our competition is ourselves. That's it. That's it. There is no competition. I was talking about it with Eric. I had a story about showing an apartment. He had a story about showing an apartment. Then I had another story, and we just looked at it. He said, there's no competition out there. There's none. There's none. It's embarrassing, to be honest. Once you actually start putting down the bottle, once you start not watching adult videos, once you start getting off social media, once you stop watching the news, once you understand that it's all part of the matrix, once you actually understand that it's all a bunch of nonsense, and it's put out there to keep you sedated, it's to keep you sick and weak and tired and burned out. And once you actually understand that it is there on purpose not to fuel your energy, you start shifting your energy and your mindset, and you start setting the attention, you start visualizing, you start training and everything else, you'll actually understand, looking back at all the stuff that you used to do, and you'd be embarrassed by yourself. I can't believe I used to do that. That was last week's coach, or that was the call last week with my coach. I'm like, I can't believe I went for 2.5 years, completely throwing away 2.5 years. You know, you could look at it, I don't regret anything, because I learned how easy I can spiral down. It just literally takes, and I'm spiraling, and then you just start doing nonsense. Oh, I went to this social media, let's look at this drama, let's look at this news, let's reply to this DM, let's send out this group text that's not helping anyone. So when you actually start setting the intention, You start having a morning routine that actually prepares you for the day, and you leave with this power. I was on the subway today. New York City's pretty crowded, okay? There's a lot of people here now. Everyone is back, okay? I'm on the subway, and I don't listen to stuff in the morning. I need to just focus. So I'm not on I don't look at my phone or anything else. I just brain dump out all of the energy before I go into prospecting. And I'm looking around the train car, and everyone is looking at their cell phone. Everyone's got this is a packed car, wall to wall. I'm against the back of the wall, or against the train car door, which connects the two cars. There's a dude literally right in front of me, and then there's people just stacked all the way to the door. Everyone is on their cell phone. Everyone is looking at their cell phone. Everyone's listening to something, okay? Listen, that used to be me, listening to audiobooks, listening to podcasts. Those are good uses of your time. But the bad uses of your time are sitting there and putting destructive thoughts and weeds into your brain, and then the weeds take over the fertilizer. The weeds take over all the fruits and vegetables that you're trying to actually cultivate, which bring you to your goals. And if that takes over your whole garden within your mind, you're like everyone else. That was me for 2.5 years, until my coach told me to make a sign, and it's over there. It's on, I'll probably post it to my personal Instagram page, and it says, I didn't do the content. I told my coach this is what a goober looks like. So I didn't do the numbers of contacts, the number of content, so Instagram, this, and the real estate show. And he said, you got to take this and you got to put it on the real estate Facebook page, and you got to embarrass yourself. You said something, but you didn't do it. A man doesn't do that. A man keeps his word. You have to be in integrity with your word, and you're not. So this is the consequence. And if you do it again, it's going to get worse. What I noticed is that the people that liked it and commented were top agents in the country, selling hundreds of homes, thousands of homes, running teams that are grossing 10 to 15 million, $20 million a year in commissions. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, dude, this is embarrassing. I'm not even doing an Instagram post. I'm not even doing a YouTube live. And when you really look at it, and this is one of the last things I'll say, when you really look at it, is once you start, there is no competition. And once you actually continue, you'll see that the people you used to look up to, you don't look up to them anymore. I have dozens of those interactions where I used to look at this one guy. He had this great job. He was handsome, and he lived in this big, beautiful condominium, and he had the best looking girls, and he had all this money and everything else. And I would run into them on the street maybe 5 years ago after looking up to them throughout my entire 20s, and I'm like, yeah, I don't look up to him anymore. The mindset of that person was totally different. And that's because they compounded bad information, bad, negative social media, sports, news, drama, videos, video games. Doesn't matter. It's all there to keep you like the average, to keep you embarrassing yourself to your lineage. Okay? If anything, look at your lineage and just say, are they going to be proud of me? Line up the person from the year 1500 that you have the bloodline to, put them in front of you, and see what they would say to you. The opportunity that we have. We have crazy opportunities. We have crazy opportunities. The problem is, and I've said this before, I don't know how well it was taken on other podcasts, but when you actually look at where we are as a society, we are so far removed from the non-physical, okay? The non-physical is the visualization. The non-physical is the setting the intention. It is the meditation. It is the prayer. It is thinking time. It is planning your future. We're so far removed from thought. We're so far removed from the non-physical. All we talk about is the physical. The physical, which is what's your car, what's your house, what's your relationship, what's your status, what's your friends, what's your shoes, everything is physical. Everything's physical. And I was listening to a podcast, I don't know when it was, and they had it was on Monday. And actually, no, it was on last Friday. The guy got cancer, and everyone around, young guy too, I think in his 30s, he was a guest on the podcast who worked at the company. That's what it was. He worked at the company of the podcast that I was listening to. And he got cancer, and everyone told him, you're going to survive. You're going to survive. And he was talking about his experience. And there's two revelations that I got out of it. The first is that you start to question everything. You start to question God. You start to question yourself. You start to question everyone around you. You start questioning medicine. You start questioning the food you ate, or where did this come from? How did this happen? I'm so young. I'm just going through all this pain every single day, and I just want this to go away. That's the first thing, is you start questioning things at the darkest hour. All right? That was very interesting. I thought you'd get more faithful or more contemplative. But he's like, no, I lost faith in pretty much everything. You become this nihilistic person. If it wasn't for the support group around him who was telling him, you have a lot more to give, you're not going to die, and now he's cancer-free, I think a year, which is great. But the second thing, which is the most important thing that I was talking about with the physical nature, everything is tactile, everything is physical, but it's really not. This is just a pen that is electromagnetically repelling my fingers, so that's why I can pick it up. This is mainly space. This is vibrating quarks. You know, at the quantum level, unless I observe it or feel it, touch it through our senses, it's not real, okay? Obviously, that's going to the Bob Proctor arena, which is thought matters. Thought matters. But going to the physical property of what this gentleman said about becoming at the darkest moment, he looked around, he was in a nightgown. He wasn't in his own clothes. He had nothing on that he owned, no watch, no jewelry, no hat, no shoes that he owned, that he bought. And he really thought about it, and he said, if I pass away, nothing matters. Nothing matters. Nothing physical matters. We've put so much emphasis on the physical, but that's not going to make people happy. What I talked about burnout are two non-physical aspects to thinking. Where am I going? That's non-physical. That's not tactile. And then what are the activities? Okay, you need to think about that. Again, the problem with living in a physical world, you are completely removed from becoming the best version of yourself. That's the entire intent of this podcast. The entire intent of this podcast is become the best version of yourself. It's not become the best version of LeBron James. It has not become the best version of Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Bronson or anyone else, or Tony Robbins or Bob Proctor or Grant Cardone. It is not to become the best version of them. It is to become the best version of yourself. You're here to conquer yourself. You're here to rise up. And the only way to do that is not to look at everyone around you who's average. You know, I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about it. They have to look online for mentors because there's none where they live. I think they're in like Denver. And they were talking about it. They're like, I don't meet a lot of high vibrating, high value people. And high value doesn't mean status. High value means they're interesting, they're interpersonal growth, they're into their mindset and their body and getting everything on fire. They're getting the relationship on fire. They're getting their money on fire. They're getting the business on fire. And the problem is that a lot of that is online. So it's a dichotomy. It's like I have to go online and search them out, but I can't spend time on the nonsense of online, which is say Twitter or TikTok or any of these other dumpster fire apps that, by the way, are down. YouTube traffic is down by 2 billion visitors month over month, August to September. Facebook is down 1 billion views or visitors. Instagram as well. They're all down. So I like that. I like to see that. because that means that people are potentially spending more time in real life. It could also be a trend that people are back at school, and mainly young kids are the ones that use it. So now they're at school, they're not online. I don't know. But I like to see that people are actually waking up and moving into the reality, which is real life. Okay? So I'm going to end it here. If you guys have any questions, leave in the comments below. Obviously, this is a more quick rant, but it's part of the podcast because this is where I really get serious. This is where I really get serious because I wasted 2.5 years, and it was so easy. It was so quick to waste 2.5 years. It was overnight. And when you get older, talk to someone that's older. Time speeds up. And there's actually a reason for this. The relativity that you're on planet Earth is now 80 years, or 70 years, or 60 years, or 50 years, or 35 years, whatever the case is. 1 month on 35 years is nothing. But if you're 16, 1 month is a big deal. 1 month on 16 years is a lot bigger percentage of your life. Or 1 year out of 16, so that's 1 out of 16, is a lot bigger than 1 out of 40. So it speeds up, and there's actually a reason for that because it's just another year. Just another Christmas, just another Thanksgiving, just another Monday, just another month, just another spring, another summer, just another birthday. But if we don't have the intention, we're just gonna live in average. So if you guys have any questions, leave the podcast leave the questions below. And I do have it on iTunes and Google Play if you want to go over there and check it out. Have an